Zagreus sits inside your head. Zagreus lives among the dead.
Zagreus sits inside your head. Zagreus lives among the dead. Zagreus sits beside your bed and eats you when you're sleeping.
Well, it's time, guys. Seasons of Fear. Doctor Who. This is Who's Corner. This one is a very important episode, guys. It is one of my top favorites. I know I've been saying that. There are some Doctor Who's that I really don't care for. Scaredy Cat being one, but that's later on. These first Doctor Who's up until the Divergent universe are just some of the best written ones. And we are now in the countdown to Zagreus. What is Zagreus? Well, Zagreus is a nursery rhyme told to young Gallifreyans to pretty much keep them, on the straight and narrow. It is anti-time. It's something that Time Lords fear. And as the rhyme goes, Zagreus sits inside your head. Zagreus lives among the dead. Zagreus sits beside your bed and eats you when you're sleeping. Seasons of Fear. Let's get started. The Doctor and Charlie arrive at the Singapore Hilton on New Year's Eve of 1930. Charlie has a meeting with a young man named Alex Grail, who she had been kind of seeing before she got on the R101. He was kind of a young adventurer like she was, but she had promised to meet him in Singapore by saying that she was going to sneak on to the R101. Well, as we all know, the R101 crashed, and Charlie was among the dead, supposedly, because Edith Thompson in Chimes of Midnight, they had found her diary, which doesn't mean anything, but by her being saved caused this whole rift in the web of time. So the Doctor kind of makes it out that he sent a quick letter to Singapore to Alex saying that, she lived, that don't believe anything that you have read, I will meet you there. Does it really fix anything? No. But at the same time, the whole paradox with them arriving in Edward Grove and having Edith Thompson live kind of does help it, but it's too late. At this point, as we're going to see when we reach Neverland, is that all these little things that the Doctor has done is pretty much causing more and more chaos. So as Charlie goes off to hang out with Alex and, do her business, nothing like that, but definitely kissing, the Doctor takes a pot of tea and he's looking out over the boats and the fireworks, and this man approaches him. And at first, though, it's kind of casual, he's like, "It's good to see you again." And the Doctor has no idea who he's talking to, but he's very cordial and he invites him to sit. He even gives him his hat. And the man gets a little angry at him. He's just like, he's saying that the Doctor still is arrogant in that tone, that kind of, how do I put it? It's this type of righteousness just gets under his skin and it has not changed after all these centuries. And the Doctor's kind of like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know if I'm the right person you're talking to. And the man's like, "You are Time Lord." And the Doctor's like, "Well, I don't understand. I'm not the Master, I'm not the monk, and I'm not the Ronnie. I'm not the bad guy here. If I've done something to you, I would like to know." And the mysterious figure introduces himself as Sebastian Grail and says that pretty much this whole world, this part in time, is nothing more than a blip, a bubble that was created by his masters. He doesn't mention who they are, but his masters. And that his masters allowed this little bubble of time to exist just for this, so that he can gloat over the Doctor's loss, his defeat finally. Because he's already watched him die once, but this time he has the full pleasure of seeing before any of this happens. And he takes up and he leaves. The doctor tries to chase after him, and he runs into Charlie, who is confused because it's Sebastian Grail, and that's Alex's last name. So she thinks he's getting into a fight with Alex's grandfather, and that kind of interests the doctor. So they have to get into the TARDIS very quickly and get out of this pocket bubble before it completely pops. And they arrive at Alex's, I guess you could say his summer home, his summer mansion or something. The kid's rich, from what Charlie says. And they find all these old photographs from the late 1900s to the 1850s, all the way to like this Roman goblet, this chalice, if you will. And it's weird because there's not a historian in the family, not according to Charlie, so something's just not right. So they use the information from the Roman Grail and take off to the year of 305. And when they arrive, it's this Roman encampment. It's got a temple, and the first place they go to is this tent. It's supposed to be under this guy named Decurion Greylie. Different than Grail. As they meet this Greylie person, the doctor's like, this is the man. But he's not evil. In fact, he welcomes them in. He says he doesn't know them. He's very concerned with Charlie's safety being in a men's camp and urges her to leave. And at that point, though, the doctor's like, well, you sure we haven't met? And he's like, I don't think so. So he gets kind of scared and knows that and something about time and getting into the temple. He's got his armor on, which is very interesting because when they enter into the temple, he's supposed to remove his armor as a sign of, I guess, respect to the gods, or the god, Mithras. The doctor follows after him, and Charlie stays behind trying to find some type of relic of why this kind man is going to go crazy. So when the doctor reaches the temple, he loses sight of Greylie and meets these other guys and everything. And they're like, yes, come in, brother. It's always nice to see a new face among us, which is kind of weird. You would think this encampment, they would have a little more security, but these guys are like, sure, come on in. And they talked about Greylie a little bit, that he was from Londinium. He's kind of a wacko. Basically, he was saying that their religion of Mithras was wrong, is that Mithras was actually a murderer because he killed this demon bull, and the religion is based upon Mithras being a hero, but instead Greylie thinks that the whole Mithras story is that the demon bull was good and was slain by a killer. So he believes more in the bull side than he does the man side. But he can't seem to get any type of rallying support behind him in this new religion. So the doctor is also fascinated with this blade that he comes across. And one of the Romans say it's supposedly the blade that Mithras used to kill the demon bull. It's pure iron or something like that, which, yes, in mythology, pure iron can kill, I guess you could say, celestial or demonic beings. And, he's very fascinated with that. Charlie, on the other hand, going through Decurion Greylie's undergarments and everything, comes across this type of device. It looks like a small handheld television, but the screen is turned off, and these voices are coming out of it, demanding that Greylie have all the sacrifices ready. The time approaches, and so she runs off to get the doctor. Before the ceremony starts, she drags him away, and he's like, I don't know, I've never seen this type of technology, but it does look like it's supposed to have a video to this, or like for them to see Greylie, or Greylie to see whoever's talking to him. And the doctor kind of theorizes that at this time, this is the very first instance where Greylie is about to he's either met these creatures, or some type of transfer is going to happen, because he's not sure of these beings. He's wearing his armor, which means he's being very protective of himself, and he doesn't want these creatures to see him. He'll talk to them, but he won't see them. So they hurry back to the temple, but they find that the doors have been barred shut, And all the Romans are like, oh, it was Decurion, he's gone crazy, and, I don't know why he keeps, saying that we are the ones in the wrong here, jeez. So they get all the Romans out, and the doctor tells him, you need to get out of here. Something is about to happen. And as he's saying this and all the Romans are running away, the sky starts opening up. And what we hear is Dalek voices. And that will become, you'll understand later on through the series, because these Daleks appearing, well, it's only one Dalek, but this Dalek appearing is very important because it's from a different timeline, especially from the one that we're going to get to later on called Time of the Daleks. And this Dalek comes down, and it's very surprised to be here in this timeline. And the Romans are like, it's a demon, a metal demon. Well, don't just stand there, kill it. And so they start beating this Dalek. I mean, this poor dog really does not stand a chance. He's beaten to death. And the Doctor and Charlie head off to try to find Greylie. They do find him getting all this electrical energy inside of him. And he has gone now completely batshit crazy. He says the Doctor is a meddler and that he will stop him. But Charlie steps in front of him, and Greylie still retains that honor. He's like, I will not fight a woman. And how dare you stand behind one to protect you? The Doctor's like, please tell me, why did you do this? Why did you want to sacrifice all these men for your masters? And basically it comes down to money. He was part of this rich family, but he was born second, and his brother was going to inherit all of this wealth, but he was going to get pretty much nothing. And the Doctor's still he's so blown by the fact that all of this death and suffering of what the Grail has done in the future, all because of money. And Greylie takes off running just as the sky opens up to accept the sacrifices, and they're not there, and the whole encampment just starts to mushroom cloud. And both the Doctor and Charlie head back to the TARDIS and take off just in time before the shockwave gets them. Their next destination is not going to be until 750 years later, where the next transfer of power is supposedly kind of blipping through time and space. And when they arrive, it's at the castle of Edward the Confessor and his wife, Queen Edith. And around this, we hear the Doctor telling Charlie the nursery rhyme of Zagreus. That's all that we're going to hear at this point. The new Greylie is now a bishop, and he is trying to become a duke and trying to get really deep into the king and queen's court. He's had 750 years. Yes, he did get his family's wealth pretty much by murdering his brother, and he has lived very well. He will tell the Doctor that he has had many, many wives, no children, which is very interesting. But each one of his wives pretty much withered away and turned to dust. I mean, it's 750 years. And at first, though, he went into a type of monastery and watched all of his masters wither away and die. And it's at this point in his head that only his life mattered. Everyone else was pretty much just doomed to become dust. And at that type of numbness, you don't care about anything else. And he does care about his masters, naturally. Edward the Confessor and Edith, Edith kind of doesn't really, she kind of likes Grail, but, he's just another guy. And eventually, Edward's family will either take care of him or they'll award him with a duke. I mean, who knows? But Edward is extremely happy to see the great Doctor who saved his father from an illness, and Edith is not happy to see him. We'll find out why in a bit. And as they're all sitting at the table, the Doctor asks Edward about the strange man that's sitting by himself, and he's like, well, he's the Bishop of Leofric. And the Doctor goes over to talk to him, and Grail is so stunned to see him, even though he had a hunch that he would see him there. He's so stunned, and he's like, and he pretty much tells him that you will not interfere with me this time. And he's about to draw his weapon, but the Doctor's like, you do know that I'm such good friends with Edward. You do know that his men will stop you before you even finish drawing your blade, basically. And unfortunately, he's not paying attention to Charlie, who takes a sip of either wine or water, and she is taken deathly ill to the point that she has to be rushed back to the TARDIS to get scanned and get all the toxins out of her body. And unfortunately, without keeping an eye on the door, Grail enters and pretty much has the Doctor in a corner, and he's really nothing he can do. I mean, he doesn't have a weapon, he doesn't use weapons. But Grail, being the type of villain that likes to talk and boast about himself, that how he is one and he is great, and does not see Charlie, who's gotten better, sneak behind him and bash his head over the head with a hat rack. But unfortunately, knocking out a bishop in Queen Edith's castle is a big no-no. She catches them, and the Doctor and Charlie are arrested. And then Charlie's like, okay, spill the beans, Doctor. This woman clearly has it out for you. What's going on? Well, the Doctor's like, well, I kind of left her at the altar. And Charlie's like, what? He's like, well, I wasn't in love with her like that. I loved her mind, which is pretty much what a lot of men see in Queen Edith. She apparently had this wonderful, beautiful, clever mind, kind of like how Cleopatra was. But he didn't love her like that. She loved him. And he was like, I'm not going to do it. You need to marry Edward because that's the way time is supposed to work. She does not accept that. And as Grail comes down to also boast, Queen Edith just suddenly takes ill, just like her husband. Grail had given them these type of necklaces that he said was a brand new, newly discovered metal, and that gave off a very warmth across it, kind of filling you up with pretty much goodness or something. I don't know what you would call, probably what Marie Curie probably thought when messing with the radiation and everything. So yeah, this metal was uranium, or was it plutonium? I think it's either plutonium or uranium. And with that, she collapses. Edward is bedridden, and Grail is now poised to either kill the Doctor, but the Doctor's like, you did kind of hint that you killed me at a range, so I don't understand how you're going to kill me now if this is already part of history. And Grail's like, well, I can write my own history, Doctor. And of course, Edith gets up after he had spilled the beans, and her pretty much husband Edward show up. The Doctor knows a thing or two and already sent radiation pills to everyone in the kingdom to protect them from the metal. So Grail heads off, tries to run to get to the meeting place of his next transfer of power, just as all these barges show up carrying this radioactive metal to also help kill the sacrifices of the kingdom to get these masters to Earth. Well, that fails. Edward's men overpower the barges, and with the Doctor's help, it's going to be properly disposed. Yes, there will be some lingering consequences of the radiation, but with enough pills, they should be safe. So, history would not be damaged. Grail is furious. He cannot take it anymore. After gaining his next bout of immortality, he grabs the Doctor, and it seems like he is going to throw him off the bridge. He's just like, I hope you know how to fly, Time Lord. But the Doctor kind of gets his foot underneath his, and Grail falls off of the bridge, hitting the water, which Charlie thinks to his death. But no, his masters have made him too immortal for that, for the time being. And he's off swimming away, never to be seen again for the next 750 years, which they do find at Whitcomb Cave in 1805. The Doctor and Charlie arrive, and the Whitcomb Caves has been turned into kind of like a bachelor pad, you could say. And it was also one of the gatherings of the Hellfire Club that we saw in Minuet in Hell. And as they're exploring, they meet a man who is surprised to see them there, who claims to be Sir Richard Martin. And the Doctor's like, wow, Sir Richard Martin, I'm a huge fan of you. And kind of smooth talk him and everything, basically saying that they were rich tourists that were promised a tour of the caves, but the tour guides that they were given turned out to be a bunch of bloodthirsty rogues, and they had to come and hide. And the man, Richard Martin's like, oh, well, I do apologize about that. Well, let me take you to meet Sir Grail and my daughter Lucy, who are to be wed. And as we meet the new Grail at this time, he is planning to marry this woman who you can tell does not love him, but he does not love her either. It's just an arranged marriage for money, basically. And yeah, as we know, Lucy and this Richard Martin are just swindlers anyway. When Grail meets the Doctor for the third time, he is absolutely ecstatic. He just finds it so funny. He's like, yes, it is good to see you, Doctor. So he invites him to dinner, and it's all just a rouge, guys, because what happens is that the Doctor makes some very small, non-threatening opinion that what he was whispering to Charlie at the dinner table would kind of hurt the ears of the other ladies, especially Lucy, and Grail takes that as a threat to Lucy's honor and challenges him to a duel. The Doctor's like, okay, but can I pick the weapon? And he chooses swords. So he and Charlie go back to the TARDIS, and the Doctor takes out the blade from the Roman camp. This weird blade that he had, taken, and he said it's a rustless metal. It's supposed to be the blade that killed the demon bull, blah, 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 blah. At the dueling party and everything, it's just the Doctor, Grail, Lucy, and Charlie. And as the Doctor and Grail duel each other, the Doctor is not bad with a sword, but Grail has had so many years of just doing sword play that he almost pretty much overpowers the Doctor until the Doctor gets one good clear jab at his arm, which starts to melt. It starts to decay the arm to the point that it's pretty much a skeleton. It's because that the blade is so pure, it's pure iron, that it can actually damage demonic energies, which makes sense because the immortality that Grail got from his masters pretty much made him immortal, but not immune to celestial blades. Furious, Grail takes Lucy hostage and takes her back to Whitcomb Cave, which he was like, I will have more than one sacrifice tonight. I will bring my masters back, and you are going to be part of this, Lucy. The Doctor, Charlie, and Martin all come to try to stop him. And at this point, they're pretty much too late. The door, the time portal opens up, and this giant metal egg appears in this chamber within the caves. And out of this egg comes this giant minotaur-looking guy. And, well, pretty much not full minotaur. I mean, he's got the hooves, he's just basically a bull on the hind legs, and then he's got pretty much human human bicep hands, and he's got a cow head. That's how I pictured it. And the Doctor's like, oh, I should have seen this coming, because I have come across these guys. These are the Nyman. They're just kind of like parasites that go across the universe trying to find a suitable place to call home, and they'll just take all the resources and pretty much leave the place barren. They take off. They're like, yeah, we got to get out of here. We got to get back to the TARDIS. Well, unfortunately, the Nyman have all the sacrifices from the Hellfire Club, so they're all dead. And Grail goes after the Doctor and Charlie. And the problem is, the other Nyman will come, so the Doctor has a plan. So he gets Lucy and Charlie into the TARDIS, and he goes into the time stream of where the Nyman and Earth meet. So he kind of crams the TARDIS into their pathway so they can't get any more in. Well, unfortunately, the Nyman and Grail have another plan. They can just take this giant metal egg and crash into the TARDIS and appear there. So what does the Doctor do? He tells Charlie to open the vortex door so that he can fling both the Nyman and Grail out. Well, Grail is smart. He grabs on just as the doors open, and the Nyman is thrown out into time, and the Doctor's like telling Lucy one thing: fast return switch 3 times, just as he falls out of the TARDIS himself, never to be seen again. So Grail, now victorious, knows that, well, there are other Naiman coming, that he can get out of here. And Lucy's like, Charlie, I don't know what this means, but he said do fast return switch 3 times. Charlie does it. And as the Doctor is falling and falling and falling through time and space, he eventually lands right back into the Roman encampment. Just as the TARDIS appears and Grail appears, saying that he has killed the women and that he is now victorious. Well, the Nine also appear, and the Roman soldiers see it, and they take it as an opportunity to be like Mithras and start a fight with him and eventually kill him. Well, the Doctor, in this whole chaos, goes to try to find the original Grail, Graili. And he's like, listen, I understand that you're frustrated with your family. You deserve part of that wealth. I get that. So he hands him a whole bunch of gold coins. He's like, will this help you? And he's like, yes, thank you. And he's like, but who are you? He's like, I am a messenger from Mithras, and what you're doing is wrong. These masters are nothing more than deceivers, and they're going to kill you, and they're going to harm so many people. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I just wanted, a good life for myself and to marry the woman I love. And the Doctor's like, if you take this, you will be fine. Well, the Doctor meets with Grail, and Graili meets himself, and he is just appalled. Well, at this time, the TARDIS appears again, and Lucy and Charlie appear, and unfortunately, with the Daimon dead, Grail is completely in a corner, but he does not want to give up. So he turns to try to kill the Doctor, but Graili comes behind him and stabs him, killing himself. And Charlie's like, isn't that going to damage the web of time? He goes, not really, because this Graili is in the timeline he's supposed to be. So yes, all this stuff that has happened will eventually kind of sew itself back together and just take out the bits it doesn't need. Well, as they say goodbye to Lucy and they head off back into the TARDIS, the Doctor starts talking to himself again and basically saying that he knows that the time is pretty much coming where he's going to have to face reality of his actions with Charlie. And the man he is talking to is Rassilon, which is very important. It is inconceivable to think that. Now, I don't know if Rassilon is in his head, because there has been times in the series where the Doctor is talking to Rassilon, whether it's like a fatherly figure or he's just a downright psychopath or just a coward. But he is talking to Rassilon, and Rassilon's like, well, there is going to come that point where you're going to have to face this. Well, it is happening, because once Lucy gets home, she and Martin meet this type of shadow. A shadow that kind of appears out of the ground, and it takes the form of Charlie. And they're stunned. They're like, but you went with the Doctor. And this being is like, yeah, I'm not Charlie. And she looks over at Martin. She goes, you're just a paradox. You don't need to be here. And so she kills him. And then she turns to Lucy and kills her as well. Opening up now the whole series ending with Zagreus, because that's not Zagreus. I don't want you to think that this Shadow Charlie is Zagreus. It's not. We're going to find out. It all has to do with the Time Lords and how they treated prisoners. I know that sounds weird, but Neverland will explain that all. And that's it, guys. I know it's been almost a year since Chimes of Midnight. With other projects that we're working on, yes, To Who's Corner has kind of taken a back seat right now. I still love doing it. I really did not care for the illustrations I had for this. And yes, making a script I did not do. I'm just looking at a computer screen that just has a bunch of nonsense on it. I've missed some crucial points with this one. I still love Seasons of Fear. It is still one of my favorite audios. But I don't want to go on and have this an hour long, just kind of giving everything away. I want you to find the audios or just download them and listen to it, because I absolutely love how Big Finish creates these dramas for us. I just love it to death. And what's coming up next, guys, is absolutely one of my another top favorite Doctor Who, which is Embrace the Darkness. And we will get to that hopefully not in another year. But this is Mr. D, and I leave you with just a couple of read transcripts from Seasons of Fear. You're back a bit early, aren't you, Charlie? How's Alex? Not very perceptive of you, Doctor. I am not your charming companion. Ah, I should have known. She doesn't have a mustache. Have we met? That's a complex question. My name is Sebastian Grail. May I join you? Be my guest. Can we get 2 more pots of tea, please? Thanks. It's a pleasure to see you here. And you. Not that I know who you are. How do you feel about this hat? Such folly. Such arrogance. Such a pleasure not to meet a yes man. Here. Looks so much better on you. For once, your mockery does not infuriate me, Doctor. This time, I'm the one in control. Yes, I'm sure that you are, but I'm still pretty certain we haven't met. Oh, but we have, Time Lord. Are you confusing me with someone else? I'm not the one who says you must obey me, I don't meddle, and I'm not a glamorous woman at the moment. We are old acquaintances in my past, but in your future. You've broken the first law of time. Not at all. I am immortal. Thanks to my masters, I have waited through the generations for this meeting, so I can finally look you in the eye, finally allow myself to feel the satisfaction of your death. My death? What have you done? Not only now do you begin to feel the bite of it. I have killed you, Doctor. Not only that, but I have delivered this world to my masters. Look around you. Look at those poor fools in the harbor, celebrating the turn of the year they don't even acknowledge. They are illusions, Doctor. This timeline no longer truly exists, and neither do they. My masters resurrected this place using their power over time, simply so I can indulge a whim to see my foe face to face at last. The reality has changed. The reality has much changed. My masters are the masters of Earth. In the real universe, this planet is their feeding ground. Keep going, men! We're nearly at the gate! Ignore the sky! It's just the aurora! It's a mirror! A demon! A metal demon! What's this got to do with anything? Don't just stand there! Attack it! Take it together! Put up your shields! Charge in the tortoise! Push it in the ditch! That's it, lads! We've killed it! Now come up to the gates. Help the servants and the other troopers out. Look to the wounded. Come on, get moving there. What is appearing there? It's like some giant metal egg. Oh dear, I've seen one of those before. I really should have worked this out a bit earlier. We have to do this now. When these things get out, nobody will be able to stop it. Charlie, save Lucy. A moment, my masters. A moment while I free you. Charlotte, quickly. There, get up. Let go of that wheel, Grail. I won't allow them to feed on this world. My masters will be free. My masters are free.
Free to feed on this delicious world.
Doctor, what are they? Are you wanting to introduce yourselves, or should I do it for you?
Foolish Time Lord. We are the Nyman, and you are our prey.
Ah!